Welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about pre-foreclosures and making a great profit with them. So the first thing that we're going to show is the impact of the coronavirus in 2020. So you see on the East Coast, Midwest have been affected the most. This is a zoom-in version of it, where northeastern part of Illinois has been affected the most. East Coast, Florida. So this is the anatomy of the foreclosure process in 2020. The recession officially started back in March 2020 with COVID. And then a lot of people lost their job. CARES Act kicked in. People who were not able to pay for mortgage could take advantage of forbearance. Forbearance is a delay of mortgage payments up to 12 months. It's not a forgiveness, it's delay. So what's going to happen is that if those people are still unemployed, guess what? At the end of the 12-month mark, they're still not going to be able to pay the mortgage. So they will automatically enter the foreclosure process. Next, I just want to give you a quick history on foreclosures. So they've been really low for the past 7 to 9 years, but now the forecast for 2021 and through 2025 is that foreclosures are going to be on the rise. Why? High unemployment rate, over 25%, the highest ever. Forbearance will end spring 2021. So if those owners still unemployed and who cannot pay the mortgage for the last 12 months, they will automatically enter foreclosure process. Now, let's talk about the foreclosure process. In the United States, there are two types of estates, judicial and non-judicial estates. Illinois happens to be a judicial estate. What it means is that banks need to go through the court system to foreclose on the owner versus non-judicial estates. They can foreclose on the owner without going through the court system. Therefore, judicial estates like Illinois can take up to 2 years to foreclose on the owner. Let's take a quick look at the foreclosure process. So after the owner gets behind 30 days, 60, 90 days on the mortgage, the bank will officially file a lawsuit in the court system against the owner. So the owner will be officially in pre-foreclosure. At that point, you are going to get notified through ChicagoDealVault of these owners. Now, why is this so important to understand this stage? Because you want to intercept the property with the owner before it gets to the judicial auction, okay, at the courthouse. There are many benefits. The three most important benefits are that you can connect directly with the owner, see the property from the inside, be able to finance the transaction, and have zero competition. Therefore, you will never overpay for the property. Whereas if you wait until the property goes for auction at the courthouse, at that point, guess what? You're going to be competing against other investors. Therefore, you may overpay. You're going to need to pay cash, and you buy sight unseen. So the risk goes exponentially high. So there are two stages in the foreclosure process where you can intercept the property. After 90 days, when the bank files for pre-foreclosure in the courthouse, and 30 to 90 days before the property goes to the judicial auction. Those are the two stages. The main difference is that when they're in pre-foreclosure, meaning the first stage, most owners are going to be in denial. So they still think they can get caught up. Most oftentimes they can't. Therefore, you are going to have very highly motivated homeowners when they have 30 to 90 days before they lose their home, they lose equity, and they ruin their credit. Okay, super important to keep in mind. In those two stages, you're going to be able to get a great deal if the property has a lot of equity. You can pay 50, 60 cents on the dollar versus waiting until the property hits the judicial auction or when the property makes it to the MLS, multiple listing service. So at that point, everyone knows about the property. In the pre-foreclosure stage, technically, the property is not for sale, so we call this off-market. So you won't find it anywhere on the MLS. It's off-market. So you will have a first-hand look at these properties through ChicagoDealVault. Let me just give you a quick example. When we log on to ChicagoDealVault, I'm going to go to the off-market tab. And in there, we're going to have these two pipelines, pre-foreclosures, off-market, and then pre-foreclosures, and then upcoming auctions. These are the two stages where you need to intercept the property, okay, before it goes to the judicial auction. Because once it goes to the judicial auction, the property might be sold to a third-party investor, or it may go back to the bank. And then at that point, if it goes back to the bank, then it becomes bank-owned property or shadow inventory, okay? But the point is that you can not only help the homeowner get out of their financial distress, but you can end up with a great deal at a great price. So let me just show you how easy it is to find incredible deals. I'm gonna pick just a county, for instance, DuPage, and I will filter properties with over 50% equity. Example of it means that if the owner owes, let's say, $50,000, the property is worth $150,000, so the owner has $100,000 in equity. Those are the type of deals that we're going to be focusing on because they're going to give us better bargaining power. Okay, so now at that point, I'm going to search. So right now we have 41,000 pre-foreclosures in Illinois. When I filter these, just in DuPage high equity, we narrow down to 458 great deals. Why are these great deals? Because not only do they have a lot of equity, but we will also show you all the details. For instance, this property, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Carroll Street. Okay, so the owner owes only $28,000. There are no further liens, and the property is worth about $160,000. So the owner has over $130,000 in equity. Okay, so what's really powerful, friends, is that you can connect directly with the owners via text, email, or a phone call. How do you do that? Just hover over the name or click on the name, and we will immediately give you the owner's phone number, landline, and sometimes if they have email address, they'll be there for you. So that's a Steven. I can click on the below the second name. Okay, Amy. Let me click on Amy. Yeah, there's nothing on Amy, but we were able to find out about Steve's. So your objective is to get in touch with the owner, find out how motivated they are to sell the property. If they're extremely motivated where they need to sell the property right away, else they're going to lose it very soon in the next few months, then you want to make an appointment either virtually or in person to see the property from the inside, because once you see the property from the inside, you're going to be able to come up with an accurate scope of work and be able to make a fair offer on the property. Right here in ChicagoDealVault, we're going to tell you the estimated rehab based on the square footage and the location of the property. But you always have to see the property from the inside, and that's the big advantage of pre-foreclosures and upcoming auctions, that you get to see the properties from the inside, okay? And then finally, we're gonna tell you the most you should pay for the property depending on your exit strategy, whether you're gonna flip it, buy and hold, or do a wholesale, okay? So all of it right here. The second really important lead pipe is upcoming auctions. So these are the homeowners who are going to lose their home in the next 2 to 3 months. So I'm gonna do exactly the same thing. I'm gonna filter high equity, DuPage, and then boom. So right now we got 18 properties. So if I pull up one of them, let's say in Elmhurst, okay? So this property is going to go to auction on September 3rd, okay? And we give you the details of where the judicial sale is going to happen. So the cool thing about this is that Kelly, in this case, owes $160,000, and there are a couple of liens, for one for $130 and the other one for $5,300. So overall, they owe about $170,000, but this property is worth up to $380,000. So, in other words, the owner, Kelly, has over 50% equity. So, can you imagine if you can get this type of deal for maybe $200,000? You'll be paying like 60 cents on the dollar in a great A neighborhood, Elmhurst. Okay? And again, we give you the numbers, estimated rehab based on the square footage, location. This is a pretty big house. And then the most you should pay for the property, depending on your exit strategy. Now, this is the courthouse at where the auction is going to happen is where you don't want to be, okay? That's like the Shark Tank, where investors are gonna overbid each other. You need to pay cash, you buy sight unseen, so it's extremely risky. You wanna make sure that you have no competition, you're able to finance the transaction using either a hard money lender or a private money lender, that you get to see the property from the inside, and that you never ever overpay for the property. And that's going to happen when you look at pre-foreclosures and upcoming auctions. So even if you were to do one great home run deal a year, I mean, how much is that worth to you? 30, 40, 50, 100,000, right? So that's the power of having access to the right data at the right time, okay? Because life is never being fair. Life is about access. So if you have access to the right information, guess what happens? You win. And this helps us level the playing field with the pros. They have access to this information, and that is why they constantly strike home run deals. But it's about time that all ordinary investors like you and I start taking all these home run deals, and it is so simple as filtering by high equity and the location. It could be by city, zip code, and then you can also put date ranges, okay, when the upcoming auctions are going to happen in the future. Okay, friends, so let's just quickly summarize everything that we went over. The foreclosure process in Illinois can take up to 2 years. Why? Because banks have to go through the court system before they can foreclose on the owner. Now, due to COVID, the forbearance will help owners stay in their home for 12 months without paying mortgage, but it's not forgiveness of their mortgage payments. It's just a delay of up to 12 months. But at the end of the 12 month, spring 2021, they have to come up with 12 months worth of mortgages. If they can't, for whatever reason, they will enter the foreclosure process. So you should expect to see a huge increase in foreclosures starting next year. Why is that important? Because right now there's a shortage of inventory. Therefore, property prices are still holding high. When you have an increase in supply, what's going to happen to property prices? They're going to drop. So there's a speculation that property prices are going to correct themselves up to 20% in the next 12 to 18 months. So pre-COVID, if the property was worth $100,000, a year from then, meaning summer next year, the same property may be worth $85,000. So please be very cautious when doing your ARVs, because you're going to have a decline in ARV. So account for that, at least a 10% drop in property prices by next year. Interest rates are still extremely low, so right now is the time to refinance because they're historically low. So if you have properties where you can tap into the equity or you have a high interest rate, right now is the time to refinance. What strategies should you focus on right now? Buy and hold and wholesaling, okay? Flips are gonna be on the riskier side. Why? Because of what I just mentioned, declining prices. So it's extremely risky right now to buy a property, especially right now that elections are coming, winter is coming, because you're gonna sit on the property for at least 4 to 6 months, okay? On top of that, prices contracting, you're gonna have a challenge. So if you get a great deal and the rehab is light to medium, then you still need to be very cautious on that strategy. But my advice is for you to focus on buy and hold and wholesaling. If you have a property to sell, right now is the time to sell because property prices are still high up and they're going to remain towards the end of the year. Before elections, things are going to remain the same. Okay? So thank you everyone for watching and I look forward to seeing you in our next webinar.